Hi, welcome to the 5% podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Each time we have a podcast, we have a session here, we get somebody involved with estate agency and property sales or people that are helping to move this really antiquated system of ours forward. And I'm delighted to welcome James Vent today. James, how are you? Thanks for joining us, mate. You good?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really well. Yeah, really well. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. So look, just we're going to talk about the process a bit because you've got an interesting background. Do you want to tell our listeners and our readers your background?
Yeah, certainly. So I was an agent for about 12, 13 years. Started in a small independent. I mean, really good grounding. I sat next to the director. Sort of how to manage your applicants, keep in touch once a week, things like that. That gave me a real good understanding, sort of baseline on agency.
Yeah.
Then went over to the corporate side. I wasn't a massive lover of that, if I'm honest. Was a
Few
lot more
are.
numbers
Yeah.
driven. Yeah, exactly. KPIs, things like that. Then went across to Purple Bricks when they launched and things like that. So was there for a long, long time. And then left there to do the Avenue, so self-employed agency.
Yep.
And then did that for about 2 or 3 years. Was going well. A few personal situations meant I then wasn't moving to the Midlands.
Yeah.
So come back down south and ran an estate agency branch until I come across to do what I was doing today. So yeah,
Great.
in the industry since I left school, really.
Yes. So you've done the schooling, right? That puts you in a good position to talk to agents about the challenges because you've lived it like I have, and we understand it, having been in it. I think that's a major point, isn't it? As well, when you're talking to agents, if you're actually going to back something or put your name to something that you're going to do with this life of ours, you know, and you're going to and you'll know it's going to help because you've lived the experience before. You've been through the trials and tribulations of mainline frontline estate agencies. So you felt it, you know
Yeah,
what it's all about. So that
yeah,
puts you into a position.
exactly,
So look,
exactly.
we've obviously known each other for a while now. And one of the reasons that, I really wanted to hear you talk today was that there's a few people that I've come across that are genuinely interested in helping move things forward because this process of buying and selling houses in England, we all know it's a long, well-trodden path rhetoric about it's broken, it's slow, da 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 da. But there's so many of us that are all trying to play our part in this process to try and drag it forward,
Yeah,
kicking and screaming, while we potentially wait for government intervention, et cetera, et cetera. But while we wait for that, which may never come, then the private sector it falls upon us to get this thing, get it moving forward.
yeah.
So obviously, we've met through agency and Gazelle and so on and so on. But what I'm really keen to talk to you about today is, the part that you're doing, because you're very specific in terms of what your business is bringing to the party. Do you want to tell us about that? What it is that you're doing and why
Yeah.
it's so important?
Yeah, so like I said, was an agent for a long time, and I think the most frustrating thing that I found is fall throughs. You know, you can be a
Yeah.
brilliant agent, fantastic marketing, you can do all of your elements really well, but then as soon as you've tied up a sale, even if it's the right buyer at the right time and so on, there's so many reasons a sale can fall out of bed. The other thing that I found most frustrating was the amount of time it would take to turn over my pipeline,
Yeah.
especially when I was a self-employed agent,
Yeah.
because that was quite literally what I was earning.
Yeah.
So to me, speed was a real issue. And then, yeah, communication and things like that within the chain. So yeah, what I'm doing now is it's sales ready. So we get searches up front at the point the property is listed onto the market. So the
Okay.
second it goes onto Rightmove, we'll get all the searches ready and prepared. And then at the point you found a buyer, there's many different options we could go down, whether it's you sell it to the buyer, you introduce me to your solicitor and I work with them directly because I always had preferred solicitors when I was an agent, nice small local one. So I work with them as well. Or if you're not too bothered, then there's another avenue where I've got solicitors that I can put you in touch with. However, an agent wants to sort of do it, we can mold it to them. But most importantly, it's about speeding up the transaction. So searches can take up to 3-4 weeks, which again I
Yeah.
never understood really as to why, but they do. So it's more about getting ahead. So if a search is going to take 3 weeks, a solicitor isn't going to apply for them, say, until 2 weeks after the sale's already been agreed.
Yeah.
we're already now 5, 6 weeks into the process, and only now we're starting to get things back. So if we can save that time somewhere, in addition to that, if we find anything, and this is the most important thing for me, if we see anything in the search, even though we're not necessarily publicizing it, we will let the agent know, just so you
Yeah,
know this might be an issue with whatever that may look like. They can let
yeah,
the seller know. And it's just about getting ahead of it rather than, yeah,
yeah.
waiting for something to crop up. You found a buyer, you've done all your hard work. Ah, now there's a problem.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because with searches, because I doubt that there's a buyer out there that, when they choose a conveyancer, understand the process. So, if you're looking for a conveyancer, um, I mean, my daughter's doing it right now, actually, and I put her in touch with one. And what I said to her is, I said, what do you think is important with your conveyancer? Oh, well, price.
Yeah.
Because they all do the same thing, don't they? And she's
Yeah.
really, really keen to get into the house that she's buying. And one of the things I've said to her is that, you want to look at conveyancers, certain questions you want to ask them, which buyers don't ask, which is, when do you apply for searches?
Yeah.
Because the searches will come in, and then they'll raise inquiries on those. We all know that. So anything that conveyancers are raising inquiries on is basically conveyancers not knowing the answer, so they try and find them. So if you can supply the answers early, then there's less inquiries, which speeds the process up, right?
Yeah.
But one of the questions that people don't ask is, buyers don't ask, is how long when do you order the searches? Because some conveyancers, and I will stress not all, um, quite a
Yeah.
lot of them, will literally do nothing until there's a mortgage offer.
Yeah.
Now, if that
Exactly.
mortgage offer takes 60, 80 days to turn up, issues on survey, delays in getting a surveyor out, from day one, et cetera, then, and if there is a 3, 4 week turnaround on searches, you are waiting a long time.
Yeah.
But so buyers don't know that. They just go into the process sort of blind, really, making decisions on conveyances either on a recommendation from a family or a friend or possibly the agent. But there's questions that they don't know to ask, and
Yeah.
agents don't educate buyers to ask those questions.
Yeah.
So ultimately, they can go into a transaction, then they get frustrated because it's delayed and so on, and searches haven't been applied for 6, 8 weeks, uh,
Exactly.
plus the time. So the searches are you getting all of the searches done for people when they list?
Yeah, exactly that. Every single search, and it will also be renewed. So the other question that I quite often get is,
Yeah.
what if they run out? Searches have a lifespan, and, and then in which case they'll be renewed, whether the property's sold, whether it's not sold. At the time you've got a buyer, they will be renewed, and the search will be able to be used throughout the whole process. And more importantly, it doesn't cost the seller anything.
Well,
The-
that was going to be my next question, because that will be, these are questions that, as an agent, I know agents will want to know. Is that
yeah,
okay? So I've listed my house. We've got, we've ordered the searches, but who's going to pay for them?
we are. We are. So we believe in the message in driving the housing market forward with it, that
Right.
we genuinely put our money where our mouth is in terms of we will order them. We'll pay for them. There'll be a 24-hour period between you saying, we found a buyer, we want to order this search on this property, and then us releasing them to the buyer or to you or
Okay. Yeah.
the solicitor.
So the agent can get copies of the searches once they found a buyer, or do they get them before that?
Once they find a buyer. Yeah.
Right.
So unless there is an option where if an agent would like to publicly share the search, which again, not a problem, the seller can order them, or at the point that the buyer is found and the buyer's purchased them, it will then be shared with everyone.
Okay. So the buyer purchased the searches off of instead of the seller paying for them.
Yeah.
So my next question is, well, what about the buyer's conveyancer?
Yeah.
Because issues sometimes arise with the buyer's conveyancer saying, well, we can't use those searches. We've got to use the searches that I apply for, because there might be a margin there, or they just might, from a compliance point of view, the things that they hide behind.
Yeah.
Their process is, no, we order the searches for the buyer pays us, we then order the searches. How do you get around that?
So there's no reason as to why the solicitor can't use them. If there was ever a genuine reason as to why, and the solicitor phoned me and said, I can't use these, then by all means the buyer would get a full refund, because that isn't the buyer's fault.
Right.
If it's taken 3 weeks to get the searches back and we have them there ready within a 24-hour period, and they're going to apply for their searches and it's going to take 3 weeks, I would ask the solicitor why they wouldn't want to use them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's a genuine reason, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
they'll get the money back because nobody's at fault, you know.
And have you got any case studies you can share with agents of how this is actually helping speed things up?
Yeah, so like I say, if I look at things on percentages, so on average, we're saving 4.5 weeks at the moment for everyone that's got sales going through with us that have purchased the searches or gone through some of the other routes that we have for agents that I won't go into right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, on average, we're saving about 4.5 weeks on total transaction times.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's really, really important, isn't it? Really important. That's a major time saving. If you can help an agent get their exchanges through a month quicker, then I mean that's a game changer, isn't it? Really, for everybody else.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It
and what are
allows
the
you to face the other part of the chain as well, in my opinion. You know, if your part of the chain is ready,
yeah,
even if not everyone else is ready, it allows you to put time into the other parts of the chain, and it also makes you look great.
yeah,
You're ready. Your seller thinks you're brilliant. Your buyer thinks you're brilliant, and they're chasing up their estate agent. Why aren't I ready? You know,
yeah,
so it just frees up different, yeah, to do to other things.
yeah. So what about different authorities around the country? So do you have any challenges with different authorities, or does it not matter as far as you're concerned? For example, if you've got Walthamstow Council takes 8 weeks to turn the searches round, does that delay your searches, or can you get them done quicker?
We have a lot of good relationships with the local councils that tend to take a little bit longer. So you know we can express some through. There is potentially a case where a house gets listed tomorrow, it sells
Yeah,
the next day. I
yeah.
mean, it's pretty unheard of at the minute in this market. But let's say it happened, the searches wouldn't necessarily be back. Around half the country, I can do within 24 hours.
Okay.
Probably, yeah, just
Okay,
over half
absolutely
the
enough.
country
Yeah.
in a 24-hour period. And yeah, like I said, there are different councils that, you know, some aren't online, for example. So it
It's astonishing, isn't it?
it does happen. So you got to go old school and pick up the phone to them, believe it or not, and yeah, try and build up relationships with them that way to get them to go through. But yeah.
So, what advice have you got for the agents watching this as we sort of close up this chat? What advice have you got for them? How do they, is this a difficult thing to do? Is there a big process they got to change in their business? How does it sort of how do you tend to work with them?
No, not at all. If they get in touch with me, whether that's LinkedIn, email, give me a call as well. My number's pretty public. I'll find out exactly what it is that you need within your agency, and we'll tailor that to you specifically. Like I say, whether that's you've got good relationships with your current solicitors that you want me to integrate with, or you just want to sell them directly to the buyer, I can flex around whatever it is that you want. And more importantly, I think it gives you a USP as well. You
Yeah,
know, sat in a customer's living room, this is what I'm going to do to you. This is how confident I am in my marketing approach.
yeah,
This is how I'm going to sell your house. But more importantly, once we've found you a buyer, this is what's then going to happen after. Because I used to do that a lot in the living room as well. Is it's not just me selling your house. It's
yeah.
when you're actually moved. That's the whole process, and you can feed that into when you're speaking to customers as well.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a really important point to make, isn't it? Is that the speed is brilliant, but as an agent, you've got to be careful how you introduce the speed of a transaction. If you're listing someone's house and they haven't found anywhere, and you're saying we could get this through really quickly,
Yeah,
you might put them off. But
exactly.
actually, I don't think I've ever met a seller where there's a buyer and they're ready to get going that
Mm,
said, just slow down a bit, take your time. That everybody at the point that the deal goes in and everything's ready to go, they want to get to exchange as quickly as possible. So it's in everyone's best interest to use whatever tools that there are around to help
yeah,
that process go through. But just be careful that you're not sitting there with somebody who's saying, "Slow down, I'm not ready yet. Oh, I'm not sure." And
exactly.
yeah, we can get it through really quickly. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
you probably took yourself out of a bit of business. Okay,
exactly.
that's great. Is there any other bits of advice you want to give to any agents watching this?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say so currently. I mean, by all means, pick up the phone. I can try and tailor that specifically to the agency. But you know, I think everyone deals in the same market. You know, it just depends on how you view it.
Yeah,
Really, some agents will say it's amazing. Some will say it's terrible. I think they're both right. It's just how they're viewing the market. Really.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Well, that's great. Well, James, look, I mean, this is great that we all get together and find out different bits about us and how we can all help people move forward.
Yeah.
And so, if you're an agent watching this, you definitely want to get in touch with James. He's a great guy as well. Have a chat with James, see where it can go and how you can help. James, thank you ever so much, mate, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Good
Thanks for
man.
having me. Cheers, Brian.
Cheers.